Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and today we're going to be going over the all-new 2020 Nissan Pathfinder in the Rock Creek package. A big shout out and thank you to Tim Daly Nissan here in Murray for providing us with the Pathfinder. If you're on the market for a new Nissan, I'm going to include a link to their inventory in the description below. As always, we're going to do a quick walk around on the car, then we're going to take it out to see how it drives. Let's get right into the video. Under the hood of the Pathfinder, we have a naturally aspirated 3.5-liter V6 that goes to a CVT automatic transmission. Power outputs are 284 horsepower and then 259 pound-feet of torque. In terms of fuel economy numbers, it's going to be good for 20 around town and then 27 on the highway. So let's go over things on the front end of the Pathfinder. I know it's a little bit difficult because there's snow on the hood. Guys, I tried to remove as much as I could. But there's this really nice body line that kind of goes up in that area. Well, at least the amount that you can see, obviously. You can see that we've got the LED daytime running lights. I've got the car turned on, obviously, to defrost as much as possible. And you got projector bulbs right there on the front. Fog lights are just down below with a Nissan logo front and center. And then we've got Nissan signature grille, which kind of makes like a smiley face. And then you got little skid plate action happening down below because this is the Rock Creek edition. And one more look of the slightly covered up front end. Around the side here we have two 55mm tires on 18-inch rims in the front and the rear as well. So pretty normal setup for an SUV in this segment. And you can see the tires are just a little bit more aggressive since this is the off-road package. I really like the inserts on this. So like the black on the inside with those little silver inserts. I think it's a cool little touch. It says Rock Creek right there on the side, and then you can see that we've got the plastic fenders, extends all the way down the side of the body, all the way to the rear. Mirrors are black. I really like that touch. I think it's kind of like a nice little sporty look. But let's head to the rear now. Here's our key fob for the Rock Creek package. So it's just like all of other Nissans upgraded key fobs. There's nothing on the back happening, but Nissan logo at the top. You've got your remote start button, your lock button, your unlock button, and then obviously a sound alarm. So if you want to remote start it, you've got to lock it. Hold down that remote start function for just a moment, and then it'll start right up, and it kind of made like a little farting sound there, which is kind of cool. But yeah, you'll hear that 3.5-liter V6 come to life. And then actually, if you want to shut it off, just press that function again, and then everything will turn right off. Now we're going to head into the storage space in the back, aka the trunk, tailgate, whatever you want to call it. So press that button, and then it is a hydraulic lift, so you've got to lift it up yourself. You can see that we've got the Rock Creek mats here in the back. Got a little 12-volt charging station right there on that side. And then if we pick up all of this, you can see we've got some extra storage space underneath. And then this does have the third row, so you can throw these down. You just have to pull this little latch, and then you can kind of just throw it down into place. So like if I do this, I just throw it down. You do have to fold the headrest as well, though, obviously. And then when you do want to pull it back, you've just got this little strap that you can pull back, put it back into place. With the third row down, there's a decent amount of storage space. With the third row up, you can see it's a little bit cramped, but I feel like it's still a good amount. And then they give you this little grab handle, so when you do want to shut the tailgate, you can kind of just throw that down and everything will shut back up. Now let's finish things up on the rear stylistically. So they've got a little spoiler at the top, which I think is pretty neat. It definitely stylistically looks pretty good. And then you have the taillights. I wish that they were full LEDs, but this is based off of the SV trim, so it's not like the fully loaded Pathfinder package that this is based off of. You've got your blacked out four-wheel drive SV badges on the other side, Pathfinder badge right there. There's also blacked out parking sensors are all along the back of the bumper here. And then you can see it has a tow package. You've got all the plugins for towing everything, so it's all set up for that. And then they kind of continue that like plastic bumper design all the way to the rear, so it kind of goes all the way around the entire vehicle, as you can see. And then here's one more look at the rear of it. Whoops. Anyways, coming to the rear, we can see the door panel in the rear. You can see that there's some nice contrasted stitching. It's kind of orange colored. It's a little bit like orangish brown. That's kind of the best way to describe it. And you've got nice leather padding here, which is really nice that they put that right there. And then you've got your little handle there for the door, and then you've got your window control, a couple cup holders down that area, and then we've got a bunch of snow that I have to just... Give me a second. Now that I've got most of the snow cleared off for the most part, except for down in that area, we can look at the seats. So more of that orange stitching, leather bolsters right here in this area, and then they've got the gray leather up at the top, and then they have this cloth insert right there in the center. You do have these little cup holders that you can pull out as well. And in terms of this leather, it's actually relatively soft to touch. Definitely is smooth for sure. And then you got the vents right there in that little area with the climate controls, a couple charging stations just down below, mat pockets on the back of the seats. And one more look at the rear. So here at the front, we've got the keyless entry. So one touch to lock it, and then when you want to unlock it, you just press it again. That'll unlock it. Now you can open up the door and look at the door here in the front of the Pathfinder. So again, you've got kind of like the soft touch up here. You've got the leather padding here in this area. Again, the orange contrasted stitching. I like this black trim right there. I think it's a really cool look. Another door handle in that little area. The rest of your window controls up front with your mirror controls. Another cup holder down there. And then here are the seats in the front. So you can see it says Rock Creek right there on the top. You got the black with the orange right there. Again, cloth insert with the gray leather up top and more snow, obviously. Fully power adjustable seats right there at the bottom. You got the pedal layout just down below. You got your little hood latch in that area. And then over here you can see you've got your tow mode, your blind spot monitoring, your stability control, and then the steering wheel is going to be manually adjustable. And I'll step back so you can get one more look at the front before we head inside. Start up the Pathfinder, just put your foot on the brake, push the push start, and everything will fire right up. The gauges will do a little bit of the sweep, and apparently I didn't close the tailgate, so my bad. Here's a look at the steering wheel on the Pathfinder. Let's zoom in. You can see the Nissan logo there in the center. You got your cruise controls on this side, and look, it actually does have the adaptive cruise control function, which is pretty neat. Over here, that's for the center screen. We'll go over that momentarily, and then all of your volume controls, voice command controls, all that. And again, that same kind of like brownish orange stitching is on the steering wheel. Over here, you've got your stock for the windshield wipers, all that, and then that's the stock for the lights and your turn signal. We have the gauge cluster right here, so RPMs on the left side. On the right side, you've got the speed, and then you've got the little center screen, which you can scroll through a couple different menus essentially through this. You can see there's a couple different bits of information you can see on the Pathfinder. Pretty standard setup for most vehicles. If you're wondering what that triangle is, that's just because the tailgate's open, so it's giving me a warning sign saying that I need to look at the messages, which is the tailgate that's open, so then I need to close that. You can see that right there on the warning center, so that's pretty neat. So here is our center touchscreen display, and yes, it is actually a touchscreen. You can see that it's got some functions with the touchscreen. You also do get these analog buttons just down below in this area that you can use for all of it. So like I can press apps, for example, and see the apps page. Response time, I mean, you can see I've got these little funny gloves on today that actually don't fit. They're a little bit too small. But you can see with the apps tab, I mean, I feel like the touchscreen is pretty responsive. You got that driving performance page. It does take a second to load up on that. You can see it gives you different gauge information. That's pretty cool. I think that's neat that it gives you your fuel consumption, all that kind of stuff. That's actually quite a bit of information on the vehicle. But anyways, if we pop it into reverse, see a backup camera will pop up. You got little trajectory lines that'll turn with the steering wheel. Other than the actual appearance of the infotainment system, I feel like it's pretty user-friendly. It actually looks pretty decent with the graphics. Obviously not the best, but I would say it gets the job done. Over here we've got our hazard lights, which I think that's one of the most interesting looking hazard light buttons ever. I love the black trim behind all this. It's got that kind of like cool little square design on it. All of your analog controls though for that infotainment system. And then you do get a little CD player right here with all of your presets and analog controls for the radio. It does have a dual zone climate that you can control via all this little area right here. Pretty simple to use. I'm glad that they have it separate from the rest of the stuff. And then we've got a couple charging stations down in that area with some extra little storage here in the Pathfinder. Here's our whole kind of like center console area. Here's that shifter for the CVT automatic. You do have the low range gearing, which is pretty nice. And then over here you've got your little drive mode select. So you got your two-wheel drive, your auto, lockers, and then you have the 4x4, and then they've got the hill descent control, a couple cup holders right next to it. And then this is cool, they label it. So you've got the upper, so we press that, it'll pull up the upper part of the center console. And I did forget to mention, more orange stitching. And then you've got the leather at the top, and then you got the lower. So you press that, and then that'll open up the lower part, more charging stations, and you've got that little thread through for the cable. And finally, let's head over to the glove box, which we can open up. Decent amount of storage space. It's got 2 tiers on it, so actually looking at this is pretty big for a glove box for an SUV, so good job on that, Nissan. Got a little sunglass holder here at the top. Pretty simple and straightforward. All of your light controls up there. You've got the visors, and this one doesn't have a sunroof optioned out. Other than that, everything up top is pretty simple and straightforward. There was nothing that just jumped out at me as absolutely crazy, but it is a lighter colored headliner. Now let's sum things up by going over pricing on this Rock Creek edition. So this particular one, stickers for just under $40,000. It's about $39,300, I think, before any type of market adjustment, which, I mean, for a third row SUV with four-wheel drive, you know, some off-road capability, I mean, those mud flaps definitely help out a lot. But all joking aside, I mean, it's got some off-road capability. I feel like it's actually a pretty good valued package overall, and obviously with the adaptive cruise control function, all that. So, I mean, pretty good packaging in general. That all being said though, let's take this Rock Creek package out to see how it drives. So before we set off in the Rock Creek Edition Pathfinder, let's talk about visibility. So you can see visibility over the hood, other than the fact that this snow is getting in the way. It's actually really good. You can see visibility through both of the mirrors and then through the rear as well. A bunch of very large kind of like square windows, so it's really easy to see out of. And I kind of messed up on this. So I said lockers for some reason in the review. I meant four-wheel drive lock. Just, guys, sometimes I mess up. Let's set off. So initially setting off here in the Pathfinder, let's talk about road noise and ride quality. So in terms of ride quality, this is actually really smooth. Just like all the longer wheelbase SUVs, I expected it to drive really smooth, so not really a big surprise there, but it's good that they've kept up with that. And then in terms of road noise, I am hearing a little bit of wind noise. Tire noise is not bad by any means, but I am hearing just a little bit of wind noise coming into the cabin, so I guess take that into account. So let's make a little turn here and talk about steering. So the steering is really light. In terms of directness, it's actually relatively direct for the size of SUV that this is. It's obviously not sports car direct or anything like that, but I feel like it's got a really direct steering rack and it's very light, so it's a very comfortable steering rack, and please don't pull me over. So let's get a little acceleration here at the Pathfinder. Yeah, so I mean, in terms of acceleration, obviously it doesn't gear down because it's got a CVT automatic instead of a regular torque converter automatic, so it just chains down. Anyways, acceleration is okay on this. I definitely would like a little bit more power for the size of SUV that this is, but it's more than adequate, and the towing capacity on this, I believe, is right around 6,000 pounds, so definitely enough power to tow a decent amount for, you know, an SUV. So let's sum things up. I mean, if you're looking for a, you know, comfortable third row SUV with, you know, like I said, a decent amount of capability on the off-road and obviously a good amount of capability on the on-road as well, and this Pathfinder is a super solid offering to look into. I mean, it's got all that capability. I like the interior on this with the seats and everything. Obviously there's a little bit to be desired on this dash area, but a lot of manufacturers have been cheaping out on that lately anyways. But I mean, overall, I feel like it's a pretty complete package, and the price point that this is at is actually really competitive. And there we have it, everyone, the 2020 Nissan Pathfinder. And one more look at the car, because some of the snow has finally come off of it, and now you can actually see the paint. So this red paint looks absolutely beautiful in the sunlight. But as always, if you're stopping for the first time, please subscribe, comment down below what you think, and then again, a big shout out and thank you to Tim Daly Nissan here in Murray, Utah for providing us with the Pathfinder. If you're in the market for a new Nissan, check out their inventory in the link below. I'll see all of you in that next video.